Dwayne Johnson has been teasing us since May that his Black Adam will debut in the DCEU in a manner that is super exciting and super surprising. And it seems that he was right, because there's no way we could have guessed this, because it makes absolutely no sense. But thankfully, somebody talked, because they have a lot of loose lips over there at the DCEU, and rumor has it that Black Adam is going to debut in none other than Suicide Squad 2, where the squad is tasked with securing a weapon of mass destruction, Mr. Dwayne Johnson. Now, sure, that's the exact same plot of the very first film, but maybe the second time around, they'll actually get it right. And I bet that Dwayne Johnson lit up like, well, Black Adam when the idea was pitched to him. Or heck, maybe even it was his idea. Because Dwayne Johnson, at the center of everything, with an entire team, a very popular team, by the way, thanks to some very creative character design, to say the least, needed to take on just one dude. Well, that certainly sounds like The Rock's favorite recipe. Now, again, I said that this was impossible to guess because it makes no sense. And as a comic book fan, as a champion of comic books, I do think that it's inconceivable to introduce Black Adam in any other film except the Shazam film, because he's that character's main antagonist. It's like introducing the Joker in a Superman movie. Although, come to think of it, this version of the Joker was just introduced in the first Suicide Squad movie, where Batman only had a cameo. Yes, in today's comic book movie landscape, anything goes. The source material be damned. And I think at this point, we just kind of have to accept it. Even over at Marvel, where they can seemingly do no wrong. And I think arguably they can do no wrong. They trod all over the source material. Now, as for the role specifically, rumor has it, because Dwayne Johnson's so busy, right? How does he have time for Suicide Squad 2? Well, that's because they're going to be able to shoot it in a short amount of time on a sound stage. Lots of green screen, and he can do it very quickly, and then they'll just sprinkle him throughout the film, and of course, I'm sure for the big action sequence at the end. Kind of, I think, to some degree, what Cate Blanchett was able to do for Thor Ragnarok and maybe even Infinity War. And so Dwayne Johnson can continue on his very busy schedule, although that looks less and less like it's warranted considering some of his box office numbers as of late. But, you know, things can continue, and because he's waited a long time to be Black Adam already. And he's like, I'm not debuting in no Shazam film. I think it's interesting. Suicide Squad, for the bad things that people say about it, although it is an Oscar-winning movie now, it does have a lot of audience interest, and they do very interesting things with the character, and you just can't help but be drawn to it. And so I don't blame Dwayne Johnson for looking at it and saying, I want to be a part of that. Just kind of like he did with Fast and Furious, and I would caution the Suicide Squad team to, well, just ask Tyrese what happened with the Fast and the Furious eventually. So cards on the table, considering and accepting today's comic book movie landscape, how do I feel about this? I think it's a really good idea. Because upon hearing it, 'twas the first time I actually could imagine a Suicide Squad 2 that works. Well, actually, scratch that, the second time. The first time was when Mel Gibson was being courted to direct, because he's just the perfect mix of gravitas and crazy. As for Gavin O'Connor, who actually has the gig, we know he's got the gravitas, and we know from The Accountant that he can definitely handle the action sequences. But my problem with Gavin O'Connor is having him as the writer as well, because there's no evidence that he's funny. Actually, I would think he's the complete opposite based on his body of work. And it was Ozark's Bill Dubuque, who actually did The Accountant first, but Ozark proves that he's got the goods, who came up with the brilliant twists and turns in The Accountant. And I've also, even recently in my coverage of Gotham on Fox, pointed out how funny that show is, and I would be tempted to hire some of those writers away. I'd be like, you know what, Gavin, you can do the first draft, but I'm bringing in other people to layer over it. And also, as far as Dwayne Johnson's involvement goes, that we know from experience now that does not guarantee quality. In fact, in some ways, I think it's a little scary. Because Dwayne Johnson's got a lot of ideas, and I think that most of them are actually not very good. But with Margot Robbie, Will Smith, and Jared Leto all confirmed to return, and I'd imagine Viola Davis as well, having them versus Dwayne Johnson with, what do you know, lightning powers. That sounds enticing enough to sell some movie tickets. So once again, the DCEU will squeak by. They keep doing that. I think they could do a lot better than just squeak by. But when you're talking about just so much money, I guess they just want to keep this money train moving. So what do you think of Dwayne Johnson and being a part of Suicide Squad? What do you think of Black Adam debuting there as opposed to the Shazam movie? What do you think of them doing a retread of the first film? And what do you think of DCEU's strategy? What do you think of them just continually squeaking by? Or maybe you think this is a slam dunk. Write your thoughts down below. Thank you for going over this with me, and you can check out some more videos right now.